Hello there, everyone. Mohammed Najmi here with this segment of reflections and reactions. Now, you notice there's a bit something different today. I haven't got a backdrop behind me. I've just blurred the screen. It's just been a crazy day today, to be honest. And yeah, I just couldn't be bothered right now. But there was something that was on my mind that I needed to get out, and I thought that was more important than how it is presented. And well, it's a lot to do about immigration and how we think about immigration in this country, and mostly in most Western countries. A while ago, I wrote something about it, and I'm just going to expand on that thought that I had before because I hate that people have made immigration into such a political issue to create illogical dichotomies of no immigration at all, or the whole 8 billion people can come live here on this tiny island. Now, I do understand the point of no immigration at all for a time being for a country like Britain, to maybe stop immigration for few generation, couple of generations, or even at least one single generation, so we can get a hold of what is here and what is what are we to do with it. But I just find it bemusing that people, those who think themselves as righteous, can go on to saying on how can you be against immigration since you're an immigrant yourself, right? That's what I get told as well. As soon as I try to talk about this issue, I get told that. I get sent memes of coconuts so much, probably saying like, oh, that I'm brown from the outside but white from inside, as if immigration is a racial or ethnic issue. Like every single country in the world has immigration. Every serious country in the world has immigration. If you don't believe it, look at how Middle East deals with immigration, right? Go ahead, call them coconuts. And this is this is what is usually levied against people like Suella Braverman. When she tries talking about it, it is actually somewhat racist if you think about it, that a person is only allowed to think or act a certain way as prescribed by the good people because of the color of their skin or their background. So we are only allowed to say certain things, agree with certain political point of views. Ethnic minorities can think logically. We are not bound by emotions, like most of the current new progressive left is. We are not all radicals. Uncontrolled immigration is a strain on resources, and in higher numbers, it breaks down communities and the sense of belonging. That would happen whether you do it in England or in India or in Kuwait or in Saudi Arabia or in Nigeria, anywhere. Apart from that, the undocumented illegal migrants are a huge safety concern for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're an immigrant or if you're a citizen or if you're a born native in this country. Illegal migrants are a huge safety concern for everyone because you don't know the intention, and it should be the primary focus of all MPs, all ministers, regardless of their political affiliation, because they're representing us, they're representing the crown, they're representing the public's interest, and the security of the public, it should be their primary focus. Security and prosperity. Many ethnic minorities also know how people abuse the system. See, now there's a huge thing. Like, I was a legal immigrant myself into this country like some 13 or so years ago, and people, other immigrants, especially those from Pakistan and Bangladesh, will talk about how they can pretend to be a homosexual and get their residency application fast tracked, because they can pretend to be homosexual, because there's no test or anything for it. They can just say, they can claim to be that, and they can say, okay, look, I'm from Pakistan, I'm homosexual, and therefore there's legitimate fear over my life, because gay people get killed in Pakistan, officially, right? So they can say that, they can seek asylum. Their paperwork at that time, I don't know what it is right now, but at that time was getting processed quicker. Like within 6 months, they would be granted residency or whatever the case might be. Now that is a problem in itself. Like, that's an abuse of the system, and also people who are actually suffering from this scenario, you know when the system gets abused too much, then their right to claim asylum will go away with it as well. It's a natural thing that it should happen in a way, because you can't keep on letting your system get abused. And I met someone who had been living here illegally for a long time, being hidden by other immigrant communities as well, and also being helped by certain lawyers. And this is another huge problem that I saw, that there were a lot of these Pakistani lawyers, Pakistani British lawyers, uh, who what they were doing at that time, because we were still in EU at that time, right? So within EU, what would happen is, if within staying within EU at that time meant that if you were married to someone, a European person, for 5 years, then you would get the nationality. You'd get British nationality, right? And you didn't even have to be married for the full 5 years. You could be married like for 3 years or something, or like whatever the case might be, but it was 5 years. And if otherwise, and you would also get the right to live, you would get like the European uh, family dependent residency sort of claim, right? So you could extend you didn't need to get work permit, so you could just get that, and after 5 years you can just claim for nationality, and there's just divorce, right? So it didn't mean you had to live with that person, or anything like that. You didn't have to prove that, right? And they would pay there was a lot of like Eastern European women who were taking advantage of it as well, because, well, that's how it was happening, and they were paying Eastern European women 8 to 10 grand to lie about, like, just to pretend to be their wife. And you know and that's how. And also lawyers were, apart from that, which was a huge scandal anyways, but that stopped now since we have come out of EU and those things don't apply. um Lawyers were also helping even at that time, that I got to know about other false asylum claims that people could make. They were helping them with those things. They weren't directly helping them, because if they directly help them, then they can be tracked. But they were from within the communities and stuff, so they would tell them what to say and what not to say, right? So and what to write, what to claim, what not to claim, how not to claim. So they were actually helping them with their fake claims. And these people were well prepared. They were being helped by the immigrant communities, and the lawyers out of these communities. These are not harmless incidents or activities. This is a problem. This is a problem because you have a country where like all these people who are coming in, most of, not all of these people who have ill intent who are coming in, they are able to abuse the system. And what do you think happens? um what do you think happens when these people get their claims? Do they become a patriotic all of a sudden? Do they start loving Britain? No, their journey has started within a criminal environment. Their first action, their first interaction with the country is that of an illegal sort. Same thing with these illegal migrants that are coming in. Do you think they just become patriotic all of a sudden? They start loving Britain? No, only people who are coming over here who have genuine asylum claims, and they're not that many of them, right? Genuine asylum claims, they are the only ones who would feel patriotic or feel grateful to Britain for giving them refuge. Everyone else, they're like, a lot of them are just economic migrants. They're not here because they love the country. They're here to abuse it, to use it for their benefit. And we're letting them do it. So when a conflict like this has happened, this current conflict has happened between Hamas and Israel, that's why you see a lot of these refugees and asylum immigrants and stuff siding with Hamas, especially like not especially, mainly if they are from Islamic countries, because they don't care about Britain. They don't care about our relationship with Israel or not. They don't care about the Western civilization, the Western values, and the Western culture. No, they came here to abuse the system, and then I don't know what people are expecting, really. I don't understand why people cannot open their eyes against this. Our system has faults and it needs to be fixed. We cannot allow others to abuse it, no matter for what reason. You know, the reasons are besides the point. Pretty soon, the whole of England will be turned into what has happened with London and Birmingham and Bradford and those sort of areas. Hardly feels like it is English anymore. And not because of racial aspect, right? Because the national culture is no longer dominant in these areas, which stokes division. This is not the England that was before, afraid and unable to prosecute criminals because it might create a cultural backlash, like unable to protect the vulnerable girls in our communities up north because it might disrupt community sentiments with a certain group of people, like people going and hiding after criticizing a medieval thinking incompatible religion in Islam. People of this country, the native people of this country, having to go in hiding for fear. People, going and hiding for protecting their own shops from thieves. Unable to stop knife crime because it won't be good for race relations. Police officers and politicians, football players kneeling. Frankly, the whole country has done a lot of kneeling. Look where it has got us. Unable to fly your own flag, be proud of your own country and heritage for fear of being called a racist. You tell that to any other national of any other sensible country, and they would think you have gone insane. And I think so. Most people in this country are also thinking, there's this liberal elite that is over us that has gone completely insane. This liberal elite is just unable to understand the impact that mass immigration has on the working class people of this country. Because this liberal metropolitan elite, they don't get the same effect. When you have mass immigration coming in, which is beyond the needs of your country, you will have pressures on all your local services. You will have housing pressures, and you will have pressures, especially if the majority of it is unskilled labor that is coming in. You will have a lot of pressures on the jobs of the working class people of this country, because the companies would not be obliged to pay good living pay wages, because it keeps on getting these people from out of this country who are willing to do that unskilled job. And you know, they have low expectations, those people who are living, because they have lower standard of living. They would be over here living in 5 6 people living in one house. They would have less money that they need to spend. Most of the money they will be sending back home or whatever. They don't care. They're not gonna push the companies to pay more, would they? As a result of it, it harms the workers of this country who would want to negotiate, better working conditions, better working pay, and whatnot. And the companies would say, well, we don't have to if we have other people who don't complain. You know, they can. That's a part of business, isn't it? That is being facilitated by these liberal metropolitan thinking people who do not understand the consequences it has on the wider society. A lot of people say, oh yeah, we need more immigrants for our health and social care. Yeah, we're getting them. We have safer legal routes for them, right? So those people who are coming by boat are not doctors and engineers that are coming on the boat. Why we have proper means of bringing health and social care workers from them. But there's another aspect. When you get people from other countries, from outside of the Western sphere, a lot of them, if you get them into our health and social care, there's a disconnect between the patient and the health and social care worker. Do you not understand what health and social care, like the whole dynamic is? It's not just about, oh, I'm sick, oh yeah, go to a doctor and they will give you medicine, oh, and you're fine. There's a whole other holistic aspect to it, especially when it comes to social care. There's a matter of cultural factor, there's a matter of human connection. There's so many things that are not picked up of, because you're not of that culture and whatnot. And people don't have a connection. They wouldn't have the same bedside manners, those doctors and stuff. There's a lot of it that is going to be lost. And on top of it, for those things, for those essential services, you are relying heavily on foreign workers who can up and leave at any time. I mean, that is a recipe for disaster. That's just asking for it. We should concentrate on training our own people, give them better benefits, give them better incentives to train. Let's train our own workforce. This is not a controversial topic. We need to pull ourselves together and think about it logically. We cannot give refuge to everyone in the world. We should not have to give refuge to anyone, actually. And anyone that we do decide to give refuge to, we are doing them a favor, because we have no obligation to the woes of the rest of the world. That is their problem. We cannot be responsible for the foreign government's mismanagement of their resources and mistreatment of their people. We have to think about the people who are already over here. Do you know that 4.2 million children in all of UK are living in poverty as of 2021-2022 data? That figure alone should jolt people into accepting and declaring that we must first look after our own before trying to add more pressure on resources and more misery in this country. But nobody seems to care about that or even be concerned about it, it seems. There's a research from Shelter that showed at least 271,000 people are recorded as homeless in England, including 123,000 children. NHS data indicated that over 7 million people are on waiting lists for specialist clinical care or surgery. 92% of appointments require waits of up to 46.2 weeks, not days, weeks. That's almost a year. These are not sustainable numbers. We do not have a magic money tree as well. Everyone is asking for more funding, but there isn't enough. You know, we need to manage our resources better. And we cannot do that if we keep adding additional pressures. Our health and welfare takes a biggest chunk out of the budget. Health is like, I think this is 21-22 data that I checked last time, and health was around 210 or 217 billion pounds a year, and welfare was 194 billion pounds a year. And the total managed expenditure was 1040 billion pounds. So out of 1040 billion pounds, what we were spending on within that figures was 217 and 194 on health and welfare. So almost half of that is going in health and welfare. And the money that we are getting in income taxes and NI taxes was, I think so, income tax was around 230 billion and NI tax was 161 billion. And so NI tax is 161 billion, and while we're spending on health 217, so it's already over the NI tax, right? And other income resources like VAT, corporation tax, and other small direct and indirect taxes, the receipts were up to 918 billion that we are receiving, but we're spending over 1,000 billion, right? So there's already a deficit in that way. Sorry, I was just texting my wife. She asked me something. Anyway, so it's not sustainable. And people who think like, oh, we have money because we spend $1 million there, we spend $1 million there. No, these are not millions that we're talking about. These are hundreds of billions that we're talking about. Diversity of any kind on its own is not a strength. A diversity of thought in a system that keeps the discussion of differences civil and makes the most out of different ways of thinking while keeping a national core unity, that's a strength. Racial diversity is irrelevant in that scenario. Understand the facts of our current situation, right? Unless we want to all live in misery, we need to face the reality now. This is an existential problem we are facing. Those coming in huge numbers on our shores illegally do not love our country, they love our resources. That is the stuff that can break and destroy countries. We need to come out to our senses and stop being over emotional, because we're being over emotional about people who are coming from abroad, but we're showing no emotions to the people who are already here. That's not a sustainable way of how to be as a country. These are dangerous things to do. Like, we also need to ask certain questions. Now, let me give you an example of Pakistan, because I was born in Kuwait, as you guys know, but I've lived in Pakistan for 10 years, right? Now, in Pakistan, the Muslim minorities have next to no rights. They get constantly harassed and killed, and nobody cares over there. Even Ahmadis, who call themselves Muslims, but Pakistan call them non-Muslims, get attacked every now and then. And they are seen as fair game. On the Pakistani passports, it clearly says that you can travel anywhere apart from except Israel, right? Because they don't recognize them as a country as well. So you can see, like, they obviously have an inherent problem with Jews. Like, every mullah in every mosque regularly preaches about hatred towards the Jews. People don't drink and eat with Hindus or even Christians, right? Their mullahs also preach hatred towards the Gora people, towards the white people, and of Britain and America. And you get killed in the street by a mob if anyone even suspects you of blasphemy. You don't even need to have a proof most of the time. Someone can just say, oh yeah, I heard this guy was being blasphemous, blah blah, he wrote something towards the prophet, towards the god, or whatever. Literally, there will be a lynch mob straight away, and that person would get beaten to death. I've seen this happen. It's mental. There is state-sanctioned murder of ex-Muslims under the Sharia. Anyone who leaves apostates, they get killed. Women get regularly harassed, Muslim women or non-Muslim women. Many villages still practice honor killing and forced marriages, even child marriages, child brides, and so on. Pakistanis are yet very proud of their country. The Pakistanis who come over here as well, even those who come over here, they're still proud of their country, right? So, which is kind of weird. Like, if you're seeking refuge is from a country, you certainly can't be proud of it, because there's a reason why you taking refuge from it. But even those who come here legally and then find whatever means, like I said before, they find illegal means to become legal, have fake claims, people helping them out, they're very proud of that country and defend all of those things that I've listed as the cultural, religious right, or differences. Even those who are second or third generation hold most or some of those things that I've stated. Why do you think that they will ever want to integrate? What do you think their actual intentions are in this country? Do you think if Britain was ever attacked, that they would be willing to fight for her? Especially if the attack is by another Islamic state? They don't even support England in cricket. They will support Pakistan. Yet they all have British passports. Very weird, isn't it? Of course, not all, right? Of course, not all. I'm an example of not that all, right? So, that not all thing. But, we need to be more strict with our immigration policies when it comes to such regions. We need to see with the people who are already in this country, with their proportional percentages, who are committing more crimes, the kind of crimes, map out from it, and create some strict immigration policies that disables people from those countries to come in over here, and also enables us to deport some of their most miscreant members out of this country. Why do we keep on giving out citizenships to those people who hate this country? I mean, I find it very, very bizarre. And it's also because of these reasons why I don't like the idea of dual citizenships, because you can't be loyal to one country, and then to another as well. You can only be loyal to one country and one king. There's a reason why even India doesn't allow dual citizenships, and it's something that we have to seriously think about. And that much should have been clear Now we need to find solutions. All of this should have been clear when people from Britain went to join the Islamist jihadis of ISIS a while back. I mean, that should have been a moment, eye-opening moment. And now the acceptance or normalization of Jew hatred on our streets, even that is not opening the eyes of some of the liberal elites. Or maybe, I don't know if it's intentional or if it's ignorance. It's hard to tell at this point. So I think we need to start asking these questions. We need to start having honest, open conversations. We need to let the native population of any country discuss these things without being called names, because it is their country and they need to think about the future of that country. Other people can just pack up their bags and leave. It's not their country, is it? They don't have that much of an emotional attachment to this country as much as the native population does. So their voices need to be heard, their concerns need to be heard, and their intention, their ask, their requirements, their desires need to be actioned by the politicians that they vote for. Anyways, in conclusion, I would say that the more a government makes its people dependent on itself, the more docile and obedient those people become. When the majority wants such a life of codependency, there is very little you can do to shake them out of it without causing massive shock to the system. So no, I'm not sure if things will change here in Britain, although I want it to, but I don't think so it will unless there is a mentality shift. I am beginning to see that mentality shift. That mentality to want to achieve more than mediocrity, to be proud of the history, heritage, and traditions, with acknowledging the darker and shameful moments, but not being held captive by it, not being enslaved by your own history. This country seems to have lost its purpose a little bit and its confidence in itself, but I believe it can still be a strength for good. A stalwart of the West once again. If enough people are willing to stand up for their own, first and foremost, stand up for their history, their heritage, their tradition, their values, and time to start saying no. No, we do not want this country to become a refugee center. We want this country to remain a country. And we want this country to be prosperous. That would be the thought of, any group of people in any country. You should want your country to do well for your people. And immigration is just one of those things. I mean, immigration is not a human right. Immigration is not a right. Immigration is a privilege that a country decides to afford to people who it deems to be merit worthy. So it is time that Britain starts using immigration to its benefit. And if that means for a while immigration needs to be stopped, then so be it. That is all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you think about what I've said. Some things I might not have fully discussed because I'm still thinking about those things in my head. Other things I've expanded on. Have a thought about it, meditate on those thoughts, and give me feedback. If you have any thoughts of your own, let me know what you think. But overall, I think so we need to rethink ideas like immigration when it comes to national cohesion and benefit. And we need to stop being over emotional about these topics. Yeah, and definitely start recognizing illegal immigration to be illegal and problematic at the very least, the concept of which is gone away from liberal minds. It seems like it needs to be reintroduced. Illegal immigration is a thing, it's wrong, and it needs to be stopped. Anyways, take care of yourself, be good, and thank you for listening.